I haven't even seen it. How about that? I'm like,
Good. That and the news, don't look at either.
I sold
yeah, I try not to watch the news.
I sold Boeing on Tuesday because I made 1,000 on it and I'm out. I actually don't have anything else anymore. I couldn't take the emotional roller coaster.
I haven't even seen it. How about that? That's why I don't watch it.
I couldn't
I'm there
not
for the
look
long
at this
haul.
week, so that was the problem.
Yeah, I try not to watch the news.
I sold Boeing on Tuesday. I made 1,000 on it. Holy cow, that's a big delay. I couldn't take the emotional roller coaster.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Neighbors Only Local Market Update for 85212 and 85209 in the surrounding area. Glad to introduce our panelists from the Klaus team. We have Kenny Klaus, Craig Klaus, and Twyla Edwards. And from Loan Depot, we have Steve Farrington.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
All right. Well, we just want to jump in here. For those who caught last month's and for those who didn't, we will have that information for you at the end where we did our town hall last month, where we had Kevin Thompson, District 6 Town Councilman, spent quite a bit of time with us last month going over all the local businesses, local developments, things that are happening really between about Meridian and Power south of the 60. So lots of great economic stuff happening in our area, business development wise, including, of course, Eastmark, Gateway, and some new developments coming. So tonight we're going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the local market. Man, there's been a lot going on in the world these last few months, and a lot of businesses, a lot of people impacted. The one thing that hasn't been impacted like I think sometimes we think it would be has been the real estate market. And so we wanted to show you a little bit of that. And for tonight's benefit, you know, a lot of the stats that you hear on whether social media or the news, wherever, are either national stats or a much broader range. Our goal is to really keep you informed on what's happening in our local market here. So the Southeast Valley, and specifically kind of the 85209 zip code and 85212 zip code, so that you can keep a beat on what's happening with your home values, with the market, the rental market, interest rates, all the things that are kind of affecting you in your backyard. And so, you know, we hope you enjoy it, but a lot of the data will be relevant to the East Valley. So we'll jump in. You guys are welcome to ask questions. We do appreciate that because, again, we want to give you the information that's most important to you. So please feel free to interact. And if there's something that we don't cover, please feel free to reach out to us. We are located at the southeast corner of Ellsworth and Guadalupe. Right behind the Sonic there is our office, which is where our team and Steve with Loan Depot also offices. And we also have our title company in there. So we have notary available and anything that we can help with. So well, let's jump in though to some of the market stats. I know Craig's going to have a lot to share on that. He really follows that for our team, and will give us some good updates there. We got a few slides we'll mix in for you also, just to kind of show you some of this stuff. But feel free to ask questions, and we'll keep things moving. So thank you for joining us. So Scott, do you want to go to that first slide there on the
equity?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about, and this graphic's pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are different in 2020 versus 2008. We're seeing a lot of people kind of compare the markets, and they're just not a comparison. And so, interestingly, in the U.S. today, we're seeing about almost 60% equity is what people in America, that their homes have. So the difference this time compared to, that run up of 05, 6, 7, and then kind of the downfall, late 07 through really 2011, 12, was, people didn't have the equity. We've had such a good run that people are sitting on, quite a bit of, equity where they can withstand a market that if it went backwards a little bit. Fortunately, as you'll see, here in this conversation, is we haven't seen that happen either. And 42% of homes are owned free and clear. And what that means is we've got a tremendous amount of stability in the market. I've shared this graphic before, showing that the average home has about $177,000 in equity. Now, this is a national stat. So I know we talked about hyper local. This is more of a national stat, but really interesting to see what kind of opportunity people have sitting in equity in their homes, to maybe take a little bit of that and look at reinvesting either in their own property, potentially a second home, potentially an investment property. And I'm not talking about taking it all out, just enough maybe for a down payment to buy another property that you could actually legally have someone else pay off your mortgage for you. So kind of an exciting thing. So Craig, anything you want to add there, or you want to jump to the next one?
No, I think you're right on. I mean, that's a conversation I have with a lot of people in their homes for listing appointments now, is kind of the difference between now and 2008. And this is a big stat for that. I mean, to have 60%, have that much, or have that almost 60% have at least 60% equity is such a great sign for, the stability in it, as you mentioned. So I think it's a very important thing for people to know the difference, and that people aren't, 80-90% loan to value on a lot of homes anymore like they were back then.
Yep.
Yeah. And just if I may add to that,
You may.
the CoreLogic report, actually 87% of all homes in America have at least 20% or greater equity in their homes as of the end of May. So it's a really good time, just to emphasize your point, Kenny.
Yeah, no.
A lot more stability in the market this time around. Of course, we know mortgages are, a little bit harder to get. They're verifying assets and down payment and income. So the stability is different. So, again, we don't have the same fear, but, we're also in Arizona, guys, and keeping in mind, our neighbor to the west of us there, California, this movement, I mean, almost 700,000 people moved out of California in 2019. I wouldn't be surprised to see that number by at least, if not this year, into next year, significantly go up. I mean, a lot of them have been quarantined into their, 1,200 square foot, $800,000-900,000 house, and their taxes, and they look here and go, wait a minute, 4.5, 5 hour drive, and we can change the quality of life. And so I think Arizona is just poised for a really good long-term run here, based on, where people are coming from to come to Arizona when you look at taxes and the affordability. So again, whether you're, looking just to find out what's happening in the market, whether you're thinking about, buying a home or investing in real estate, the great news is everybody's situation is different. And, we'd love to just talk with you and help guide you through your options for your specific situation. And then you make what's best decision for you. So a lot of good news in a lot of doom and gloom out there right now. There's a lot of positivity actually in the market and really going forward. So
This is an interesting slide talking about appreciation, which of course is what everybody's asking about today. And, what's the value of their home now compared to pre-COVID and all of that. And this just shows obviously some of this is again national, some of the experts, kind of their opinions and projections based on what they're seeing. I have some local ones here. For example, in 85209, the median sales price in June was $260, and today it's $317.5. In 2019, I should say, it was $285, and then today it's $317.5. So from $260 to $285, and $285 to $317.5 in the last 2 years. And then 85212, it was $305 in 18. It's $334 in 2019, and it's $360,000 right now. So
you're talking $55,000 in 24 months equity. To tax write-off, paying down your mortgage. So if you are renting, it's really still an opportunity to start having that conversation for your, just helping secure your financial future too.
Well, and one thing on that too, I mean, the difference with that is to say 55,000 in 24 months, 2005 and 6, that would have been 155,000 in 24 months. I mean, the way that was going, the appreciation levels, and that goes back to the appraisal guidelines and lending guidelines we touched on earlier.
Yeah, and I think that when you hear those numbers, it gets a little frightening when you talk about employment and wages and keeping up. We've also seen an increase in minimum wage over the last couple of years that have been significant. And, I think that appraisals are still being, monitored, and down payment. There's no more 100% deals, that kind of stuff for, unless you're out in some rural areas, but really the stability in the market is what's pretty exciting this time around.
Agreed.
I completely agree. That's what my word I was thinking was stability. We've had a steady growth this time, so.
Yeah, it's not too out of control, and people are actually qualifying now, not just stating that they're qualified. So,
Kenny, you want to take anything on this, or you want me to just keep it local here?
yeah, go ahead. I mean,
Yep.
you really dive into this stuff.
Yeah.
You feel free to lead a lot of this.
Yeah, no, and I think with, this with inventory, obviously, again, and we'll cover more a little later too about, in any industry, supply and demand is what drives prices. And you see where, for example, in 2010, we were almost, 8.5 months supply, which basically means that from that point, if nothing new came on the market, it would take 8.5 months for everything to sell, versus, roughly today nationally, it's 4.1. Right now in 85209, it's about 0.7 if you exclude the other ones. Active listings in 2019 in June were 71. There's 40 right now. I believe it was, and hang on, Scott, before you change, but I believe it was 169 or 131 active in 209, and 209 and 212, and like 169 sold in the last 30 days, which puts it like 0.7 months supply. So less than a month, if nothing new came on the market, there'd be nothing for sale in either zip code.
Like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see the difference here with how many active homes there were in June of 2019 versus June 2020 in both zip codes. So low inventory, low mortgage rates, obviously that's going to, impact the values and things.
Well, what we're starting to see is kind of the struggle for people who have a home to sell but want to buy a home, and there's not much out there. So we certainly understand that. We do have some solutions around that. We have actually a couple of really unique solutions that aren't available to most of the agent population out there. We've got some pretty unique products that we can help with too, that you can potentially buy your next home, and we have a program for that, and then turn around and sell your home. So there are solutions out there. If you're not sure, just give us a quick call for a consultation, and we can just help you review your options. But if you are thinking about selling a rental property, not that we necessarily advise it, but depending on your situation, it is an optimum time. If you were thinking about upsizing, downsizing, the rates, and the fact that, homes are not taking long to move, it's really an opportune time. So.
Yeah, Scott, if you want to move to the next one, yeah. The buyer traffic index, again, keeping up with the theme of extremely high demand, extremely low inventory. You see, like Arizona is a strong buyer traffic index, basically, which we know. I think the next one's the seller one, Scott, and then the seller one, basically, seller traffic means weak inventory, and as you can see, most of the country's facing that, but then Arizona's part of that. So we kind of covered that, I think, locally already. So Scott, if you want to move on to kind of what Kenny was just talking about, example.
Unless you're looking in Wyoming or Louisiana, I guess you're.
Yeah.
Or Virginia.
And Virginia, yeah, and Alaska.
Or the great state of Alaska. So.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of going on with what you were just talking about, Kenny. These, for example, are 3 listings that we put on Friday. This past Friday was what, the 5th, right? Yeah, and so we put that on, we put these 3 listings on, and there are different parts of the valley. One is in 85212 there on Roselle. One is in 85234. The other one's in 85201. The one on Roselle was, I mean, we ended up with 9 offers in basically 2 days, really. And I think both of the other ones we had at least 4. I think I ended up with 19 offers on 3 listings by Sunday night. And none of them sold for below. They all sold for at least list. 2 of them went considerably over list. That way, just because of basically market conditions and buyers, and every agent that sends an offer in tells me that their buyer's been beat out on a few before. And so, you know, and that's part of what we've spent a lot of time as a team, as you know, talking about to help our agents. And as a listing agent, I can help counsel them on what the seller is looking for and how to help their offer stand out and to win the home for our clients. We just have a lot of different techniques and things based off of this to be able to help with that.
Well, it also tells us if you are selling that there's that many buyers that didn't get these properties and are still out there looking. So if you are considering making that move, you know, summer, I know it's hot, but it's also a great time. You know, school's out, people are, you know, making their moves. A lot of people have been home for a long time, and they've decided they need that extra space or that home office or things. So, you know, we certainly understand it, but we also have solutions to make it happen. So. Yeah, this is one that, you know, talking about marketing and doing everything we can for our clients. We have a website we run in California called tiredofcalifornia.com. You can see since January 1st of 2019, the little ticker there we have, you know, we're pushing close to 1 million people have moved out of California. So Arizona is a big recipient for a lot of that. Idaho is a big recipient for Northern California, and then of course Vegas, Texas, some of those markets. But you know, we're always looking for ways to create buyers and traffic to help our clients get their homes sold. And Tired of California is just another sample of it. So just kind of going with that California theme is.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to cover before we get into the mortgage rates, because I think that's next too, and I forgot to mention is, you know, a lot of people have questions about the impact of home values during COVID and how that affected it. Again, as an example, in 85209 in March, it was 307, and in May it was 315, and it's 317.5 now. So values have not depreciated. They were 305 in January. They're 317.5 now as an average. And then in 85212, they were 351 in March and are 360 today. They were 359 in May, 360 today. So they were 350 in January. So home prices are still definitely appreciating through everything.
Right. Yeah, it's one of the few things in the markets that's actually been very stable through all of this has been the housing industry. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with the strength of the housing industry heading into the COVID crisis. And it's just obviously leading us right out of it as well. I couldn't agree more, Craig.
Steve, you want to talk to us about like current rates? What does that look like?
They're fantastic. I mean, historic is the word that's being used quite a bit, and they are. I mean, we hit a historic low in 2012 of about 3.31%, and currently, as of Wednesday last week, they hit a historic low of 3.29% on a 30-year fixed rate. A lot of that has to maybe just a little bit of a discount or a point charge to that. And again, it's an average. So that means that there are some rates offered that are lower than that and those that are maybe a bit higher, but it's fantastic. It's really just in the 23 years I've been doing this, to tell me that we would spend a 10-year period at 4% or better. I would have called your bluff, but it's been fantastic, not only for home buyers, but people looking to take advantage of their equity like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, but Steve, I've seen rates at 2.5%. What does that mean?
It means that somebody wants your money, Kenny.
It means I didn't read the fine print.
Yeah, I mean, and it's available. I mean, any rate's available if you're willing to pay for it.
Yep.
And you know, to say that it's not available would, in certain pockets, in certain times, in certain loans, a 2.5% interest rate might very well be available today, tomorrow, or in the near future. So, you know, again, I'm going to quit saying it's never going to happen, because I've seen it happen more than once now over the last 10 years. So it's been pretty incredible run for us.
Right.
So
Oh,
Steve,
this one
talk
right
to us
here is
about
awesome.
how the mortgage rates affect the buying power.
Well, I mean, as you guys know, I mean, about a 1% rise or fall in interest rate obviously increases or decreases that buying power. I mean, I think this one here kind of shows that rise in interest rates, where we go from where we are today, maybe right around 3.375% for the average home buyer. If it goes up to a 4.25% forecast, which is the MBA forecast, which I'm gonna say that that's probably not going to happen in the next year. It'll decrease a buying power by about 10%. So you maybe go from affording a $285,000 home at today's rates. If they go up to just 4.25, you're looking at about a $265,000 loan amount. It's about a 10% decrease in your buying power, to keep the same payment at that $1,259 that we figured there at the top of the screen.
Steve, that's
So-
important too, because one of the questions I get a lot, or things I hear is, you know, when meeting with people is, well, I'm going to sell now to take advantage of them. I'm going to rent for 6-9 months. I'm going to wait for prices to drop, and then I'm going to buy. And, you know, explaining, even if that were to happen, which there's no forecast for that to happen based on supply and demand, but even if that were to happen, if rates jump, you know, that much of a percent or 0.5% or even 3/4 or whatever, how much of that will affect, you know, what they can afford or what they're buying then at that time.
Right. And well, and to that point, Craig, I mean, it couples with the little, you know, the things we talk about all the time is that cost of waiting, that if rates did go up a 0.5 percentage point, it may cost you another $75 a month in payment. But with the appreciation rates, especially here locally, that we've experienced the last 5 years, averaging almost 7%, you wait 6 months or a year, that $300,000 home is now going to be listed or valued at $315,000, $320,000, $325,000. And that's where, you know, rising interest rates and continued appreciation in home price increases will really cost a buyer that's maybe waiting, trying to wait the market out or time the market. I mean, it just, you know, be prepared, get prepared, and be ready to buy. You know, the time is now.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. You're gonna
And
buy.
that's something I talk to buyers about often too, going, you don't want to wait. At these interest rates right now, you can buy more house. If we wait 6 months or 12 months, you're not going to get the same house. So,
And
Right.
the price you're gonna get the house at is today.
Right. Well, and you guys know better, and Twyla maybe could speak to it a little bit, is that, you know, with a rise in interest rates, I mean, a $300,000 home versus 265, maybe you're going out of your area a little bit, or maybe not getting all the things that you want, as a home buyer.
yeah, absolutely. You're going to make some sacrifices for waiting and having to go to that lower price point, especially with appreciation going up also. So no, I think it's important it's interesting to talk to people who've been renting for a few years, because they don't realize, like, oh, you know, last time they had a 5. So they're like, at 3.5, I can buy a lot more house than I thought I could afford. So we've had a few people like that.
Yeah, and that's this slide right here that Scott's got up, and that's that fall in interest rates. Because I mean, just about a year ago, when we were at about 4.5% average, and to go down to 3.375, you're buying almost $65,000 to $75,000 more home at that $300,000 to $400,000 price point. It obviously, you know, continues to compound as the home prices go up, but your buying power definitely increases as rates continue to stay low, and are forecast to remain low for at least the next 6 to 12 months. My favorite. Yeah, this is where something that we talk about all the time as a team is really building wealth through home ownership. And obviously I'll give Kenny some time to talk about that because I know he's passionate about it. But the bottom part of the slide is what I really like, is that return on your investment as a home buyer. On a $300,000 home, your investment is truly that 3.5% down, or about $10,000, $10,500 to be exact for down payment. You know, you lose your closing costs, so to say, in the first year, at the start, but within that first year, just based off of historic appreciation rates, just under 5% here in Maricopa County, you've already got an 83% return on your investment of $10,500 based off of your amortization and the equity gain through appreciation, the 2 slides above. So, and then you can really see it start to compound as you get into years 2 and 3, to where your return on investment is now 200, 300, 400, 500%. And that's just you're buying a $300,000, you know, valuable asset for $10,000.
It's the only
Yeah.
thing, a few things you buy, gets you use, enjoy, and
Right.
increases in value.
Yeah,
ahead, please.
hopefully, right?
Twyla,
I know you're passionate about this, talking about, investing in real estate and really the difference between renting and buying for the same payment.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a conversation I have a lot with people too. You know, just when I first talked to them, I'm like, what are you paying for rent? And they tell me 1,600. And I'm like, wow, you know, we can certainly get you into a house for that. So Steve is fantastic with working with our people, going, if you're paying that now, let's get you qualified and get you into a house. And for that amount, you can buy, you know, a $280,000 house at these interest rates. So most people, by the time you rent, also by the time you pay your deposits and first month rent, it's not that much more to actually purchase a home. So this is definitely start getting into the market, like those slides we just looked at a minute ago. Get in for your down payment and then start developing some equity pretty quickly.
Well, it's a lot more fun when you're filling out forms too, and you get to check, you know, own or rent. It's always a little more fun to have own on there. But, you know, the obvious stuff with home ownership is, you know, almost like an automatic savings account, right? I mean, you're paying every month, you're going to have a cost of housing, right? So when people think about, living out there, and every human being, I mean, shelter is what everybody needs. So you're either paying someone else's mortgage or you're paying your mortgage. And depending on the markets and where you're at, I understand it can vary, but here in Arizona, I mean, rents really trailed the market for a long time. And then just all of a sudden, the last 2 to 3 years have just caught up, and they're either in line or in sometimes a little bit more. That's if you can find one. And, you know, but through the last couple months with COVID and some of the stuff we went through, we've really seen the emotion and the value of home ownership really even changed. The dialogue has changed a lot. You know, it was, you know, the tax write-off and appreciation and automatic savings account. I can also speak from personal experience with my oldest. It's also maturity for someone in their, you know, early 20s to be buying a home, and it really helps them, you know, grow up and mature a little bit quicker because it's their own and they feel that, you know, that pride of home ownership. But what we've seen through this last market is just the security that home ownership provides, the safety. And at the end of the day, I mean, those are two of the biggest things for us, you know, as human beings, is feeling safe and secure, and having that sense of, you know, this is mine. And through that, it's been really interesting because a lot of landlords have chose to sell based on their own circumstances, whether it's their job or maybe what's going on out there. And that doesn't give the tenant then any rights other than, you know, depending on how much longer their lease might be. So that the home ownership, you know, people are more aware now how valuable that is, and the ability to, you know, make improvements and paint your house the way you want in your kid's bedroom. But there's so much value there long term. And if you look at where most wealth is built in the US, honestly, almost everyone has a real estate portfolio that has given them the opportunity to invest and create other opportunities. So whether it's equity in your house that potentially could take out a little, if you have an IRA through your
Kenny,
company.
I was going to jump in on that when you were saying that about security and shelter and then we talked about the amount of equity people have and rates where they're at. That was another thing that homeownership provided people during COVID, was an opportunity if needed to pull out some equity, not change payment much, or in some cases reduce it, and weather the storm financially with that. And so that's, like you said, your automatic savings account. So that was something too that came up.
Yeah, and I think there are so many different ways to invest in real estate that people don't always know. One that I've now personally done, Scott, I know you have too, and I know Steve, you're working on it, is your a self-directed IRA. So for me, I worked for a large company, FedEx, for years, and had a retirement account that wasn't doing much in the markets, and I was able to pull some of that out and originally use it for hard money for some flip houses, and then eventually turned it into rental property. But it's a way to take out money that you're paying yourself back. I mean, it's really kind of a crazy tool. I didn't know about it for years, and then got educated on it. But you're actually getting appreciation of the house, and you're getting monthly rent going right back into your IRA. So really a neat tool. There's a lot of different ways out there. You can do it with somebody and partner if that's what it takes to start. So there's a lot of opportunity for people. But the first step truly is just getting educated. And, honestly, me and Craig's, parents and their parents, it was always, buy a house and try to pay off that house. And that was the lessons that were taught.
And you always put 20% down no matter what.
Yeah, versus, how do you, leverage the opportunity, depending on what stage you are in life, to go, create wealth. And there's just so many different ways to do it. Right. But where my point was, the first step is just really getting educated. And it's one of the things we get excited about and pride ourselves on is, pop in the office, schedule an appointment, and let's just talk. No pressure. I mean, we're here. I've been here for 20 years. We'll be here for, beyond, and just really understand it, and then make the best decision for you and your family. Or if nothing else, at least have something you're aiming for, a goal of, man, if I do this, it's going to create this. And it gives you purpose. It holds your money accountable so that you know where it's going, so that, maybe it's a year from now, 2 years from now, at least you're moving in the right direction.
Right.
Yep.
So a lot of the things that we hear in the news is national, but there's a big difference for what we're looking at on this call too. Is our neighborhood and what our neighborhood has to offer.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing is, I moved out here in 2001 when we had, I think we had McDonald's and Albertsons, and that was kind of it. And to see the growth and what's changed, and the proximity with the just all the amenities out here now, the freeways. I mean, Eastmark, one of the fastest growing communities in the country. Gateway is continuing to add more value. Hawes Crossing will be a new subdivision going in, where the dairies are over there. Now we've got so much change in the Ellsworth or the Elliott corridor over there with Apple, some call centers, the water plant. It's becoming kind of a little tech area, which is driving employment, which is big for us. And we know that Ellsworth is going to look a lot different in the next couple of years with shopping and, hotels and stores. And there's going to be a disc golf course going in over by the Apple plant. I mean, just so much change coming.
Kenny, I think on that even that new potential sports complex there at Ellsworth and Pecos with, to match kind of the one up in the North Valley, and just amazing amount of people that will bring out to this area that haven't been out here yet on Saturdays for soccer tournaments and things like that, all of a sudden go, wow, right by the airport, and look at all this look at all this freeway access and all of that. So yeah, all of it's just fantastic for the area. Yeah, I moved out here in 2003, and yeah, we had Albertsons and that was it. And then Safeway came, and it's just taken off, and it's just been exciting to see. And I love We love living here, so.
All right, we've got a couple questions from people that are on the call. Alicia typed in, she says she heard that buyers aren't buying right now due to unemployment in the economy.
You cut out there a little bit. What's up?
Alicia was saying buyers aren't buying because of the unemployment and the economy, and wants to know if that's accurate or.
And that's, I mean, when I tell people the market is what it is right now and what it's doing, a lot of people are surprised. They believe that nobody was buying, that no transactions were really happening, or not as much. And that goes back to, you know, one of the things was, I think it was 62% of the unemployment at the peak were restaurant retail. And obviously most of them are back now. Also, a lot of it wasn't a huge buying pool in the first place. And so it didn't really have that kind of impact financially for people. That people did hold off during that time, but at the same time, people either took houses off the market or waited to list. So the supply demand ratio didn't change and inventory still went up. And Twyla, you can attest to this. People are definitely buying and trying to buy.
Well, I was going to say back to our slide earlier about our 3 listings that went on last Friday and the multiple offers. I did an open house at the one, and I couldn't even tell you how many people came through, because I would talk to one person and someone else was coming. I had another agent there with me, and we were both, it was wonderful. It was great to see that much activity, especially out in our farm. So I would say buyers are definitely out there ready to go now, and everyone's pre-qualified. You know,
Yeah, but
you have
but
good
Alicia-
lenders out there, and they've run them through already. So
But she probably saw that on the internet, Twyla, and you know the internet is always true. I mean, there's a filter. It always has to be true. So
Or the news. Or
yes,
the,
absolutely.
either one.
Come to us. We will tell you the
Yeah.
truth of what's going on in our area for sure.
There you go. Perfect.
Yes, buyers are buying, Alicia. Yes.
Tyson typed in too. Tyson said that he's eager to buy, but he wants to wait until the market recovers from COVID.
The market as far as housing or
Yeah.
what market are we referring to?
Well, I mean, I think just overall the real estate market. And again, I think we covered a lot of that as why that, you know, waiting is actually in most cases going to cost you more money in terms of interest rates and home prices. Again, with supply demand, appreciation is expected to continue well beyond the end of this year.
And there's
I
a
think
lot of
that's
precautions being taken for, you know, when you mentioned COVID for showings, you know, sanitizing, masks, you know, people are still being very careful. We understand it's extremely important, and you know, we take it very serious too. I mean, this isn't, you know, we don't take it lightly, but we also know that, you know, an essential service and essential need is housing, and it just hasn't slowed people like we thought it would. And we know there's sellers who are waiting, and we know there's buyers who, you know, are waiting too. So that's why we expect throughout the rest of this year. We know it's an election year, so it's always a little weird towards the end of the year, but I don't know. I think we're going to see the third and fourth quarter really be the busiest third and fourth quarter, and catch up what the little slowdown, you know, from end of March till 1st of May was. But, you know, it's one of those like, duh, you know, kind of moments, right? Well, yeah, there's going to be less homes sold because people couldn't leave their houses. And so it's not surprising, but man, is it, you know, stayed steady and really bounced back. So
Right.
I think we're, you know, I think people are just realizing the value of home is a much bigger deal now than what, you know, maybe they thought for a while. You know, it was kind of second nature. Now it's like the home is really the center of everything. I mean, you have to stay there.
Kenny, I think that was a good point. You know, in that, you know, the people couldn't leave their homes, and so, you know, that is, the sales numbers for the next couple months are going to be down, and that's what you're going to hear on the news, and that is that sales dropped this amount, and they did, but also, like we talked about, inventory dropped during the same time. So supply, demand, appreciation, all those things still stayed in the favor. So yes, the sales numbers won't look as high in, say, May of 2020 as they did in May of 2018. That doesn't mean that it affected values or anything to do with that. So that's, you know, that's one thing I think for people to understand, that, yeah, it did slow things a little bit, but it slowed it equally. Therefore, it didn't affect the market values or things like that.
Well, and I think it's important also to look at Arizona and Phoenix and then down to our neighborhood versus the national news also.
Yeah.
You know, when we can look
Absolutely.
at what's happening here versus what's happening in other states, that's a huge difference.
Well, yeah,
So,
what's doing in your neighborhood affects your value in your market more than what's anything to do nationally or even what's happening in Gilbert or Chandler. What sells in, you know, similar to your home in your specific neighborhood and this specific time frame is what matters.
All right, we've got one more question from Lynn. Lynn wants to know, how do I sell my home and buy at the same time?
Just call us, simple, done. Next question.
Done?
That was easy.
I was going to say the same thing, frightening, Kenny, that's scary. But, you know, that's what we do. We work together to make sure we can make it as easy of a transition as you can. Kenny spoke earlier of some other programs that we have to help people in that situation right now, because it's hard to get a contingent offer accepted. So we certainly have some strategies and some things that other real estate teams don't have. So
Including
We have-
financial strategies as well too. So I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities and possibilities that, you know, our goal is to sit down and present them all to you and help kind of guide you, but ultimately make your decision based on having all the facts and all the information in front of you.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, for the first probably 100 years of real estate, there was one way to sell real estate, which was, you know, interview an agent, put a sign up and, you know, hope that it sells. Now, I mean, I can tell you our team is at the forefront of this, of providing many options for the client. So whether you need to release some of your equity, you need help with down payment, you need an instant offer on your house, you need the money to go buy the next house, then get your house ready and sell it. I mean, we've got so many different ways. You want to keep your house and rent it, we can help you figure that out. We've got property management. If it doesn't make sense, pull some of the equity out and go buy your next house. Lots of options, but not everybody fits in the same box. That's why it's important to come in. We're right at Ellsworth and Guadalupe. Come in, schedule, you know, an evening, weekend, whatever you need to just get a no hassle consultation and go through all the different options. Because I'll be honest, love my industry, but a lot of agents just don't have all these different tools or understand them all, where we really take the time to get educated. We do a ton of, you know, referral business, which allows us the time to not be chasing a bunch of internet leads and stuff like that and wasting our time, where we can really plug into these options and programs and really be able to explain them so that, you know, a consumer knows all the different options, not just one way to sell a house anymore. Because turns out everybody's different and not everybody's in the same situation. So why do we put them all in the same situation? Well, we don't. With the Klaus team, we provide multiple different options and we have everything under one roof. So you can get pre-qualified, know your options there, title. You know, we really try to be, you know, the meal deal. If you drive through Sonic, you don't order a burger, fries, and a shake. You order number one. We've got number 1, 2, 3 all bundled for you. So you just got to come see us. And you know, honestly, we feel bad when we don't have the opportunity to talk to someone, even if they don't choose us, but to at least get all their options available. Not everybody's the same. You know, anybody can put multi-million-dollar producer on their card, and it doesn't mean much, let's be honest. So, you know, we're here for you. We're willing to face you and go through the process with you at each step of the way. And, you know, I think as Twyla Craig said earlier, just really be your guide. Like, here's all these different options. You know, we know you can see listings online. We know that Zillow will leave all kinds of stuff out there. So you have to click on it and give out all your information to people. Like, we can save you all that hassle. And if you're not happy, you don't like it, you don't have to do business with us. But we just feel like we spend a lot of time investing in education and knowledge first, so that we can give that to you, not just have a real estate license that, by the way, takes 90 hours in the state of Arizona to get, and yet it takes 12 months to get a license to cut hair. The difference is in 12 months, they actually know how to cut hair. And so it's definitely something we're very, very passionate about, is education first, so that our people feel empowered as they're making decisions about really one of the biggest steps and investments in their life. So it's really exciting to us. Honestly, it's what we talk about more in the office, about just the ability to help educate and give people choice, because everybody wants choice. I mean, I know I do, and I know people aren't any different. They want to know what options are available, and we'll work through those for you.
We're very proud to be, neighbors in the community. I mean, I've lived here since '03, Kenny since '01, Twyla's lived in the area for a long
99, I have you guys beat.
There you go. So, I think that we all own homes in the area. Our kids have gone through the schools. We're embedded in the community. I love living here and grew up in the West Valley and love being out here way better. And so we're invested in it. We love the community. We're very big on it. We promote it in terms of a great place to live and all of that. And so just very, very, excited and opportunity to meet with people and just help them make the best decision for them with their biggest asset.
And Craig, we were talking earlier today on the difference in selling between pre-COVID and now, and we had these interesting stats. You want to speak to these?
Yeah, I mean, again, back to kind of the price increases and see the difference between, I think like 2019, you had, the difference. It's hard for me to look at this again on this now, but yeah, $4,000 difference from January to March and an $8,500 difference from March to now in appreciation in 85209 as an example in 19, and then in 20 you see the difference where it was 1,000, then it went to 10,000. So again, just going back to prices, 11.4% increase year over year, and it's 7.8 is pretty incredible, and kind of ties in with everything we just talked about, the different opportunities it creates, security it creates, savings account, all of those things.
Kenny, let's move into, let's talk about iBuyers.
Do we have to? I'm teasing. What a tool that has been for our clients. Like I said earlier, we have so many different programs and options out there that instead of running for any of this stuff, we just stay in curiosity and go understand it first. And what we realize is for some people, it's a great tool. You may trade a little bit of equity for, what we call the 3 C's, kind of the certainty, the control, and the convenience of the sale. And in this market, it can be an opportunity to really help you get the next property because you really have a non-emotional cash buyer, on your property. Now, they also paused during COVID because, again, they didn't know the outcome and the safety and security in their properties. They're starting to open back up. Their fee structures have been a little higher to start with just because they were a little unsure too, but we're seeing that adapt. The great news is you don't have to wonder which ones are out there. You've heard of a few of them like OfferPad, Opendoor, Zillow. There's several other ones out there too. The great thing in working with our team is, we kind of created our own program called Offer Depot where we just go to market for you. We do all the uploading, all the pictures. We give out our information so that you don't have to give them your email and cell phone number, that if they don't buy the property, they can, give that information to other investors. And I'm telling you, some of the stories out there are really frustrating for homeowners. It kind of gives us all a bad name, where we do it professionally. And then we take all that data and we just put it in a simple side-by-side comparison. And you decide what's best for you and your family. So here's multiple instant offers. Here's a go-to-market value. Here's a value if you did these repairs to your house, what we estimate you'll get. And it's all on one sheet of paper, very easy to understand. If you try to get instant offers from all these companies and give out all your personal information, they're very hard to read because they all do things a little bit different, the way they do closing costs or fees or tax prorations or HOA. We put that all in a really simple grid box. And then you just pick the one that's best for you and your family. Either way, we represent you. We guide you through, the home inspection. We guide you through closing, because these are not as is offers, just to be clear. They still are going to do an inspection and have requests. Great news. We've got a great list of vendors that, partners, I really should say, that will, help with those repairs. So you're not having to go through the phone book, or online or, any of those. But I know I got a birthday next week. I'm getting older, brother. I see you laughing. Oh, you just had one too. What am I saying? But we've got all those resources, and really, our goal is to be that professional. We used to spend a lot of time finding houses for people and all that. I mean, people are finding properties too. I mean, they're sending them to us. We just help guide you through that. One of the things that I will say, especially in this market, that we give our people a really competitive advantage is we do help a lot of home sellers. So right now we've probably got 12 or 15 properties in the pipeline that will be coming on the market. A lot of those we get sold internally with people we have before it even goes to market, and really make things even easier. So if you're a buyer with us, a lot of times we already have properties that we can show you. Actually, Twyla, we just talked tonight on one in Tempe that
Yeah.
she put out. I got a buyer looking in Tempe, and I got one sitting on my desk, and it could be a perfect match. And it's just kind of funny how that works. But we do enough business. We're not too busy for anybody, but we do enough business that, you know, we're in the game. You know, our team, we're in our 11th year in a row of averaging a home sold every single day a home sold. So the reason I say that is, you know, do you want to go to the doctor who's, you know, done the surgery 5 times or 500 times? You know, our experiences matter, and it gives really a distinct advantage to our clients from a negotiation standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint. And the iBuyer world is no different. We didn't run from it. We just needed to understand it. And by the way, we're already beyond that. Now there's some other tools out there. We've got, man, if you are renting, we've got some new lease purchase programs that you actually get to shop just like a home buyer of what's on the market. And we can explain that more in detail if you want to do a consultation, but what a tool. If you need to unlock some of your equity, but stay in your home, but actually have it sold and unleash your equity and lease for a couple of years, a year, 6 months, whatever you need, we've got a program for that. So lots of different tools in the new world of selling a house. It's not just one lane anymore. There's about 20 lanes.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Steve, let's finish
Yes,
up
sir.
with a lot of people that were asking about options for when they've done a forbearance. And,
Okay.
you know, what does tomorrow look like?
Well, let me just first kind of state that forbearance is not forgiveness. There's a lot, again, as we spoke about earlier, the internet, there's a lot of misinformation out there about what forbearance is. Forbearance is not forgiveness. When you go into forbearance, you're basically skipping or missing payments. The CARES Act that Congress passed allows homeowners to skip up to 6 payments and then potentially apply for an additional 6. But when that 7th month comes due, all of that you've missed is due, as well as the current payment. So if you pay $2,000 a month, $12,000 plus your current mortgage payment is going to be due. So you're on the hook for about $14,000. And up until May 19th, you had no option. Basically, if you were in a forbearance plan, we as lenders, the selling guides that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and then the Ginnie Mae family, which includes FHA, VA, and USDA, basically, if you had forbearance or missed payments, you had to wait 12 months after you were current again to basically apply for a mortgage. As of May 19th, the agencies, which is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae hasn't joined the club yet, but we expect something shortly, is that they've actually laid out guidelines for people that have gone into a forbearance agreement. Because what they found is that almost 50% of people that have gone into a forbearance agreement have actually been making their payments through this. They just kind of did it as a parachute because they weren't sure. So if you're in a forbearance and you've actually made your payments, then if you decide to get a mortgage, whether it's for refinance or purchase, and you've made your payments, through that forbearance, you can just apply for a mortgage as you would normally. The other one is if you've missed payments and you resolve that forbearance agreement at the time of application or between application and closing of your loan, and use your own funds. They can't be borrowed, they can't be gifted, and they have to be sourced and get out of the forbearance agreement. then again, you can go ahead and proceed with your mortgage. The last one is people that have missed payments and maybe don't have the funds to pay all that off, that 12 or 14,000, the example I gave. They go into what's called a loss mitigation waterfall. And as long as they've made 3 payments on that agreement that they've made with their loan servicer, on that 4th month, they can then apply for a mortgage, but they have to have 3 payments under that agreement that they've done. So these are the rules that have been kind of laid out, or exactly, they've been laid out May 19th of 2020 by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to help those that are in forbearance. We're still waiting for Ginnie Mae to hop on board. I don't think it's going to be too long before they do, but there are options. I know everyone's situation is unique, so I would really prefer, you know, people to call me, email me, come by the office, and let's talk about your options, because everyone's situation is unique, and I can definitely give you some good guidance going forward to help you out.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. 354-7344, 480 area code, or klausteam.com, and you can get a hold of any of us on the team, or Steve is in our office as well. And thank you all for joining us.
Yes, thanks, everyone.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thanks for your
night.
time.